All right, we're here. We made it.
All right, finally, a minute late.
No, we're a day late.
Day late and 2 minutes short. I was tired yesterday. Give me a break.
No, hold on. I get it. You were LARPing. I wouldn't have recorded if I'd gone LARPing either. So
All right, I'm
back.
Christopher. He's Jay.
Yep, and I'm back. I'm back. Sorry I missed it last week, guys.
Oh, that's right. You missed it last week. No one cared.
Yeah.
No one listened either. All right. I have nothing to talk about. There's been nothing that's happening in D&D news. The next release doesn't come out till like December or something like that. And like, even then, I think it's just Dragonlance.
Yeah, of which I am not excited about at all.
I think everyone that would have been excited for Dragonlance is now no longer excited for Dragonlance, seeing as how Spelljammer was a complete flop. Maybe not.
Yeah.
Maybe not from a sales standpoint, because everybody I know bought it.
I didn't buy it.
But it just didn't have the content people wanted, so people were too worried about Dragonlance. And the next module is keys from the Golden Vault, which is winter of 2023.
That's a long ways off.
Yeah, that's next in campaign too. What there is the Phandelver campaign in the summer, but people have already played Phandelver, so I don't know how successful that one's going to be. I don't know who's chomping at the bit for that.
Wait a minute. They're releasing Phandelver that's already been released? How's this work?
They took the starter kit and they made it a full campaign. What that means, what a full campaign is, who knows? Because the starter kit brings you from 1 to 5. The essentials kit is also 1 through 5. You can kind of upscale things like we did on our stream and get an extra level or 2 out of it, but it's not a full campaign. So no one's really sure what the full campaign is going to be. I'm sure the writers, which have all been fantastic from the module standpoint, are going to do a good job.
But Phandelver was an old first edition module, like way the hell back when, wasn't it?
This is supposed to be specifically a revamp of the starter set and a continuation of that story.
All right. I don't run modules, so honestly, I never knew anything about Phandelver for 5e.
Yeah.
I didn't even know it was a starter thing. I just knew, Phandelver is a thing that Waples talks about all the time.
And so, like, the only other campaign that's going to be new for 5th edition is Keys from the Golden Vault in the winter. And there's 2 more source books: the Bigby Presents Glory of the Giants and the Planescape, and that's it. That's 5th edition said and done.
Fair enough. Planescape. Yeah. I'm interested to see what they do with Planescape.
Planescape comes too late.
Oh, sure.
In a setting cycle for it to ever matter.
Maybe. I mean, if they write it with intentions of it being a 6th edition thing, because it is coming so late in the life expectancy of 5e. So if they sort of plan ahead and write it as if though it were going to be 6th edition, when 6th comes out, they can then just release more stuff set in Planescape. Do I think they will do that? No. Honestly, I don't, but they could. And it's not that they won't write it with 6th edition in mind. I think they just won't release anything for it. It's probably just another module setting thing that they, like, what have we got out there that's essentially already like that? Well, honestly, I think Dragonlance is going to be that way. They're not going to release anything for it. How many Eberron books are out there? 2? One? Yeah. I think that's what you're going to get with Planescape. You're going to get a setting, and that's it. There's no follow-up. There's no anything else. It's just, here you go.
It just comes too late, though. Like, we're going to be wanting to know what 6th edition is and all the changes for that more than what's going to be on the Planescape of 5th. Because if you look from 4th to 5th, there's a whole new set of lore and everything to memorize. So why memorize this if they're possibly going to change it in 6th, and then they probably won't change it until the very end.
Well, I
I
don't
mean,
think they're gonna. I
until
don't think.
Spelljammer came out, the phlogiston is still something I thought existed.
Yeah, yeah. If I ever ran Spelljammer, I would run it. I'd run it with a 5e, 5e math and rules, but I would run it as second edition, straight up. Like the
Yeah.
shit they've written for 5e, I wouldn't use any of that.
Yeah. I don't know. So we're D&D is in a weird transition, and everyone's like, all the friends that I have are like, you should try Pathfinder. No, because it's the same exact game, just different math, and I'm not going to memorize different math.
It
I
is.
could probably run the modules and the storyline. If that's better, then I'm interested, but I'm not going to play Pathfinder first or second.
Yeah, truthfully, I, I don't think the system truly matters too much.
No.
I think it matters depending on who you are. Like me, I like number crunchy stuff. I love third, 3-5, Pathfinder. Like I love the number crunching aspects of things, but I don't expect that to be for everybody. So
Yeah.
generally, systems are supposed to be sort of a secondary thing, and it's the world setting and the lore that actually matters, especially when it comes to telling stories, which is what
Yeah.
D&D is. There's number crunching and there's rolling dice, but in truth, it's you and your friends getting together to tell stories.
Yeah. So I'm fine with the stories. I mean, they're even releasing a couple and with 5th edition math, So I might take a look at those if I need any more stories. But I'm happy just kind of like homebrewing and redoing what I'm doing. And
Yep.
that being said, what is it? November 5th is the start of our new campaign setting. Waterdeep Fiendish Summer.
What is that? That
That's
sounds
my
different.
campaign setting that I'm running. Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's essentially I've run Waterdeep Dragon Heist. I did it in person with all my friends, and we finished it, and it was great, and we loved it. And essentially, I ran Waterdeep as like the story was happening, but it was more fun with like the open worldness of Waterdeep, and having like all the mysteries and like the holiday stuff coming up, and like having the players participate, running things for the factions. So I'm kind of borrowing all that from Dragon Heist, doing it again, but I'm having a different story because I didn't want to run Dragon Heist again because I did it.
Yeah, you've
That's
already
not going to be fun for me.
been there,
The
done that.
players, yeah, the players may enjoy it because most of them haven't done it, but 2 of them have. So
So effectively, you're running a Forgotten Realms campaign, and it just
in Waterdeep,
yeah, you're going to run it primarily in Waterdeep, but it's
I'm
just
taking
it's a Forgotten Realms campaign of your own
I'm
setting.
taking a lot of stuff from Waterdeep and carrying it over.
I mean, a lot of the NPCs would obviously still be there. That's not going to change unless they actually get killed off storyline
Yeah,
wise.
but the effects of how Dragon Heist ended had reverberations that have changed the story, and now we're dealing with the aftermath of that.
Okay.
So, like, I think in the core D&D knowledge, I think Xanathar is the one that actually got the Dragon Heist. They actually got to where the Dragon Vault is, but he didn't take anything from there because there's a fucking gold dragon just right there. Like, hi. So, uh, that's not what happened. I'm going off of like what my players did. My players found it. They talked to the gold dragon, and they've completed all that. They returned the money to the city, and so we're kind of dealing with that aftermath. And I'm taking one of the other villains from the book and kind of moving forward with that and changing their story up a bit because they honestly had the better story, I thought, and the better reason more than just greed. So,
See,
um,
you're literally just homebrewing your own campaign at this point.
pretty much. But all the stats are in the book, so that makes it easy for me.
Well, yeah, but for the NPCs and such, um,
There were 2 NPCs that I didn't get a chance to really use that well. Let's see if I can find their names real quick. So I go to the source book. Now, the actual continuation of Dragon Heist is Dungeon of the Mad Mage.
right.
Um, but that's just a huge dungeon, which we may go into a little bit. Who knows? Um, But so, anyways, there's two NPCs. They were a City Watch sergeant named Saith Cromley. So I guess just Seth Cromley, and a member of the Watchful Order of Magus and Protectors named Barnabas Blastwind.
Okay.
And they're basically detectives, and they were like, investigating the crime scene. But really,
I have to
they
I
only
have to ruin this for everybody. If that NPC's name is Blast Wind, like come on. Poor guy. I mean, he got picked on as a child if that's his last name. Like
yeah.
there's just so many flatulence jokes.
Well, you don't want to mess with him. He's a
He'll
he's a
fart
he's a
all
very
over you.
skilled he's a very skilled wizard.
Yeah. He loves the fireball spell, I'm sure.
He does not.
Anyway.
His level 3 spells are clairvoyance and sending.
What?
Nerd.
Oh god, he's a divination wizard.
Nerd.
Like who does that? Noodle.
So, I kind of want to bring them back in for a little bit, like have them actually investigate a crime and like work with the players.
Okay.
So I want to see what I can come up with that, because I didn't get a chance to use them because they showed up in like one of the chapters and they do something and then they're gone. And
Huh.
you're supposed to bring them back, but it's like by that time that they would come back, that makes reasonable sense. Your team's already like 19 steps ahead of them.
Right.
So
are they supposed to be like the bumbling investigators?
No.
No? Okay.
They're not presented that way. If they were presented that way, it would be funnier, but they're not presented that way.
I mean, it's your game. You can always run them that way.
I think they were intended to basically be two NPCs that if the players screwed up in some kind of major way, that these guys would be a catch-all and to give them information, someone they can go to basically further the plot along if they miss something.
Yep.
But it's not. That makes sense. It's like it's not that hard to not miss all the clues, though. So I don't know.
Yeah, but you always want that backup plan of the
Yeah.
NPC to, damn it, my alarm started ringing for some weird reason. But yeah, you need the NPCs to hand out info some of the time, just in case your players don't get it.
Yeah.
You have to hit them with the clue by 4.
Yeah. There's even a DC check for it too. To persuade him to give information, which is only a 15, which I think would be really bad, being that they're like a City Watch sergeant and this guy of the Order of Magus and Protectors. Like DC 15 charisma perception or persuasion check is enough to get him to spill critical details about the case that they're investigating. It's kind of bad.
Yeah, they're not very good at their job, obviously.
Get him drunk and it's a DC 8.
No, numbers wise, that's actually a little high, probably. Just because you're talking about what 3rd level characters, give or take.
At this point in time in the story, they're 3rd.
So if you have somebody with what is the normal stats you're going to have at that level? Like a 16 in charisma, maybe 15 or 16 in charisma.
Well, 18 if you're a bard or something.
I don't know what the actual rules are as far as stat creation. If you're rolling for it, sure, you could have an 18. If you do stats like I do, where I hand out 18, 16, 14, 12, 12, 10, you'll have 1. But if you're doing point buy and shit like that, I think it's like a 15 or 16.
It's possible to get to the 18 if you use a +2, but
but yeah,
so 16 is more reasonable, 18 is possible. So
yeah,
+3, +4.
So if you have proficiency bonus in persuasion and you have an 18, that's a +6. So you still got to roll a 9 or better.
Yeah, which is possible.
Yeah, obviously it's possible. It's not super difficult, but it's not like the easiest thing in the world.
It's a coin flip.
Yeah, basically.
And I did a lot with the NPCs that are in like the alleyway. So I still got to make up the NPCs again, because I'm having it be the story of Waterdeep happens like you meet Volo at the Yawning Portal. he gives you a job. Turns out the job is rescuing Lord Neverember, Lisa's son, and he gives you this bar I called Troll Skull, Troll Skull Bar and Grill or some shit like that, and you just get a house right from the get go. So like it's really cool that you're getting this base in the middle of Waterdeep. It's very expensive. There's shops and everything all around you. It's awesome. So I'm doing the complete opposite of that. They're getting a house, but it's gonna be a rundown shack in the bad side of Waterdeep because Volo doesn't have much more after he just gave away a house to the previous guys.
Makes sense. He gave away all of it. I actually like giving out houses. I've done it a couple of times with my players. There was when I was running the original Hobtown campaign, and it ended up handing them a house. And it's nice having something like that because one, it gives your players something they can care about and actually try to build onto, and two,
Yeah.
it gives you a perfect location to try and kill them at.
Yeah. No, so I will be giving them like a rundown shack to begin with, and they can fix it up, and I'll have different versions of the house
Oh,
that they can improve on.
you have to have a storyline with a squatter. Just some squatter is already living there, and they have to figure out how to evict him legally.
So in the original Waterdeep, there is a specter in the house that you can try to exercise or like get along with.
Uh-huh.
And because of the group I was playing with originally, a lot of them actually got to that point in the story. They just never completed it. So I had to change it from a specter, and I changed it to a little creepy doll.
All right.
And I ran the story of that the doll had a trapped child inside, and it wasn't really evil, but it was very angry because it was trapped inside this doll, and it kept trying to mind control everybody in the house. And so eventually, the storyline kind of led to that the Troll Skull was a bar at one point in time, but before it was a bar, it was an orphanage, and the orphanage was actually secretly run by a hag, and the caretaker was actually a redcap. So when people moved in, it kind of started to bring life back to the house, and the hag and the redcap kind of learned of this, and they started to come back in to try to basically steal the souls of the players, and to get the soul from the doll as well too. And as they eventually had to basically fight the redcap and the hag. The redcap wasn't killed; they actually ran away from it. One redcap, like versus a bunch of level threes, is a pretty good fight. Turns out. And one player was drowned in the hag's cauldron when they went into like through the portal that was in the basement to where the hag was.
All right.
And so one got drowned in the cauldron. They ran from the red cap. They freed the soul of the little girl, and then they built a wall around where the portal was, so that no one can get through anymore. And that's how they left it.
So they never freed the little doll.
No, they freed the little doll.
Oh, okay. That's really what mattered.
Yeah, but the player had to get boiled alive for that to happen.
Oh well.
Yeah.
You got to make sacrifices sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah,
done. Plot over.
I still like the idea of a squatter though. Just some mangy,
I like that idea
old
too.
man with his with his pet dog, named Scruffy or whatever.
Muffin.
Yeah, named Muffin. Just hanging out in their house. Been there for years. Nobody ever tried to evict him until now. Volo had bought the house years ago or won it in a bet and never actually, went there.
It's a human squatter named Samurai with his pet bear named Panda and a sentient muffin named Muffin.
And that's jumping the shark right there.
Jump the sharks.
Going a little overboard.
Why not? Your idea.
Not my idea.
I just took it to the shark level.
Yeah, you took it to the shark jumping level. My idea was a lot tamer than that. A sentient muffin? Like, really? Where did he get the panda? Like, where the hell does he get a panda in Waterdeep?
Where don't you get a panda in Waterdeep? I mean, come on.
I mean, I'm sure. Isn't there like an underground? Yeah, there's an Underdark city underneath Waterdeep. That's where you get a panda at.
Well, the what is it?
Undermountain, I think is what they call it.
No. Crap.
Uh, city under Waterdeep.
The Manshoon's dungeon is underwater deep.
Skullport.
The
Skullport.
Skullport is not underwater deep. It's a little more to the north of, but it's still
No,
you get there.
it's underwater deep. I'm reading it right now.
It is underwater deep, but it's not like directly underwater deep. It's you go to the north side of Waterdeep and you climb down, and it's just a little bit more north of that.
Either way, it's underwater deep, man.
Yeah.
It's a lawless place of slave traders, pirates, and people who sell pandas.
You can, if you play Waterdeep Dragon Heist, there is a chance you run into Skullport by accident.
Yeah, I even have the board game for Skullport, the expansion.
Yeah. There's a lot in Waterdeep. Waterdeep's a really nice town.
I mean,
compared to
it's
Baldur's Gate, it's a much better setting. Baldur's Gate works if you want like really dark setting, but if you want people to live normally, Waterdeep.
Waterdeep's had a hell of a lot of lore written about that place. I mean, it's kind of been the central point of Forgotten Realms since the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm not surprised there's a lot of shit to find there.
It's also a Spelljammer port. I found that out reading some older texts about Waterdeep. You are allowed to sail your Spelljammer in to Waterdeep, although it has to resemble a normal galleon ship. You have to land it past the horizon and sail it in like a normal ship.
Okay, so it has to be in the water.
Yeah.
That way nobody is none the wiser.
That way no one is none the wiser. And the reason why they did that is because the merchants that were like living in Waterdeep were losing business to Spelljammer people. Because people are all just, oh, look, it's a giant flying ship. They must have fabulous stuff. Screw you, local merchant. So the local merchants got together and basically banned Spelljammers from landing into Waterdeep directly to not give them like free advertising bonuses.
Makes sense, yeah.
And they expanded that further to like that's why they have that Griffin cavalry that flies around Waterdeep. No one can fly into Waterdeep. And of course the dragon staff, which keeps all the dragons out of Waterdeep.
Yeah.
So no dragons in this campaign, I'm sorry.
Except for the gold dragon, who apparently lives underwater deep or something.
He has a staff.
Oh, okay. So that's how he has the staff, and he uses it to keep interlopers out of his territory.
My dragon horde. Arr. I guess, by the way, spoilers for Waterdeep. We should have said that at the start.
Oh my god! If people haven't already, yeah, like this campaign's been out for how many years now? 5 years.
It was one of the first ones released.
Yeah, a long time at this point. If people are worried about spoilers, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's not Icewind Dale levels of spoilers though. It's more.
Yeah. Like we don't. The only reason we specifically don't talk about Icewind Dale on here is because we actually have two friends of ours who are running
September 2018.
So yeah, that's been out for 4 years, almost exactly.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'd be really cool. I got some fun things planned. But yeah, Waterdeep, Fiendish Summer.
Fiendish Summer. Oh man, are they going? Is there a Hot Springs episode? Are they going on fucking vacation?
They are now.
Like it's Fiendish Summer. It sounds like they're going to the beach in Waterdeep. Hot Springs episode. That's a thing. It's happening.
Okay, we'll do that.
So I've been doing a little bit of thought onto warlocks. One of my players plays a warlock, and I basically gave him a patron. I'm trying to remember the name of the warlock. What is it? The the archetype that he is, the Fathomless.
Okay.
All right. So for those who are not aware, the Fathomless, basically your patron is some sort of water creature. You get all sorts of water powers, ice powers, things like that. So when I came up with his patron, there's a lot of ways you can kind of deal with patrons. It could be sort of a back burner thing where you never actually interact or deal with the patron. Yeah, they made some bargain with them to get their superpowers or whatever, and that's the extent of it. You never actually have to do anything with that patron again. Uh, in his case, I actually let him talk to his patron. From the little bit he's actually dealt with, he knows that his patron is some sort of a underwater being, has no clue exactly what he is, and that he specifically wants to just see the outside world. So he actually has a number of followers or a number of warlocks that he will look through their eyes to see what the hell is actually going on in the above world. And occasionally the player will ask him questions, and most of the time, if I'm not trying to give them information, I just give them a bunch of bullshit, or the patron is sleeping. Just you hear snoring noises, things like that.
Okay.
So, so when it comes to patrons, how do you kind of handle them? Is there a specific way that you deal with them? Do you have thoughts and plans on them? Because there's a lot of different types of patrons, and like some of them I was looking at. So for the hexblade, as an example, the hexblade patron is a mysterious entity from the Shadowfell, perhaps one like the Raven Queen. I got to looking at all of the creatures listed for 5e from the Shadowfell.
Mhm.
1, 2, 3. There are 8 creatures. That that's it.
Well,
And
there's the shadow package that you can apply to any monster.
yeah, but
So
that's not what I would think is going to be powerful enough to be a patron. You know, uh, like just looking at the 8 creatures listed, the only one of them that I would even consider powerful enough to be a patron is a shadow dragon.
yeah, I mean, I had the Jabberwock as a shadow Jabberwock, and it had its patrons, which would be the kobolds, kind of in a weird sort of way. But you could, you can make up anything that has access to the Shadowfell, that has access to the material, that can access the material plane, could be a pact. Yeah, it has a possibility of having a pact. You
Yeah,
know, they got to have that level of power,
yeah,
or
it's got to be at
be a
least
fiend,
dragon level powerful, I would think, to
or
be
be
a
a fiend, any kind of fiend.
yeah. But those are going to be dragon powerful level, I would think.
No, I mean a simple imp can invoke a contract, can invoke a pact.
Yeah, but it's
You
not going to
know,
be powerful enough to give you powers.
well, that's not necessarily true.
An imp, I don't think would.
Give you any powers that it has.
Yeah, but it has to be capable of giving you powers all the way up to 20th level.
No, you could sign a pact with something that, oh, I'm the big evil scary king of the imps. It turns out no, he's just a shitty imp. The best you get is a tail now, and you can sting people with it.
I mean, yeah,
Haha.
but that's not part of the warlock package. Yeah, this thing has to be
That's
able to
fair.
grant you the ability to throw Eldritch Blast. It has to be able to grant you Devil Sight, things that are
Well,
in the warlock package.
and that's kind of why I don't like warlocks in 5e, because Eldritch Blast to me is something like Eldritch, and not half of the things that I would give a pact from.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, to be fair, Eldritch, you got the great old ones.
yeah.
That's Eldritch.
So like Hexblade is the biggest like confusion. I played a warlock. I was a hexblade,
Yeah.
but I didn't want to use somebody from the Shadowfell because I was a hexblade. Why can't I get these same powers from Tiamat, being that I'm a dragonborn that worships Tiamat?
Yeah, and that
So
I'm actually kind of in line with that, but I just use the hexblade specifically because
yeah,
that is how it reads.
and
It's
that's the problem with all the warlock stuff, is that you could have all this cool flare stuff. You could be a great melee person. You could be a great spellcaster. You could be a great bard-like support character. It doesn't matter really who you align with to get the powers. You should have something that flavors that. But then, why does everyone get Eldritch Blast? It just doesn't make sense.
yeah. It's so
Um,
it's
even
weak.
in Baldur's Gate 3, the game, the Blade of the West, whatever his name is, he allied himself with a succubus and got all his powers. So again, it just doesn't make sense how they tied all these different powers to anything you just make a pack from. And there's some flavor to it, but
Well,
like
hang on.
Fathomless doesn't
Let's
need
go.
to be just underwater creatures. You shouldn't get Elder's Blast from it.
Let's go through the list of them. So you got the Great Old Ones, the Fathomless, the Fiend, the Undying, which apparently is from Sword Coast, the Celestial, the Undead, the Archfey, the Genie, and the Hexblade. I think that's all of them.
Yeah, about.
And
So
like the genie makes perfect sense. The Archfey makes perfect sense. Undead, but the Hexblade is just sort of it's a weird one. Celestial, the Undying. I don't even know how that one works. Let's see. What is the Undying? In the Undying patrons include Warlock, the Shadow King, Legendary Master of Warlock's Crypt, and Gilgium, the God King of Unther. Beings, Vecna, Lord of the Hand. Okay. So basically undead. So why do we have 2 undead then? Huh.
That's where honestly, just pick the flavor of Warlock's flavor you want to be, and then just let people align themselves to whatever. Because I guarantee you that there are going to be undying melee warlocks and undying spellcasting warlocks. The flavor and the spells they get should kind of remain the same, but honestly, you just let anyone be whatever they want to be. If they want to be a hexblade and follow Vecna, just let them do that. If you want to just give them the undying spell list instead of
the hexblade list. The hexblade's the only one that doesn't make sense. Well, because it's the only one that says specifically Shadow Fell. Sorry, I keep coughing here. Like the Genie makes sense. Archfey, as I was saying, Undead, Celestials, Undying, the Fiend, the Fathomless, the Great Old Ones. But yeah, Hexblade is sort of its own fucking package. It's always it's not like the other Warlock. Yeah, you have the standard Warlock package, and then you have the Hexblade package. And them saying specifically that the Hexblade has to be tied to the Shadow Bell is just kind of dumb.
Well, like even the Fiend doesn't make sense that you have Eldritch Blast and not like a really cool souped up Firebolt.
I mean, whatever. Yeah. I think you're digging too much into the word Eldritch. Eldritch just means magic at this point.
It's force damage.
Yeah, it's force damage. Oh no.
Make it fire damage then. It should say your Eldritch Blast becomes fire damage then.
If the DM wants to allow that, I could see that. And honestly, I'm not even opposed to it. It probably should have been like that. The Undying should probably deal Necromantic. The Fathomless should deal Frost.
Yes, that would make me happy.
But that's not actually part of the package.
It is now.
As a DM, you could easily change it. What would the Archfey deal? Charm? Enchantment damage?
Psychic?
Yes.
Psychic?
I don't know about that. I'd go with enchantment.
Psychic?
It's funnier.
Psychic. The Fathomless. You just take drowning damage.
Yeah. Yep. Just that should be an ability they have, is just to drown somebody. Just fill their lungs full of seawater. I mean, that was a spell in 3rd edition.
Why can't you just summon a water elemental in their lungs?
Yeah, exactly. Just a little baby water elemental in your lungs. Here you go. Enjoy. Hope you like the taste of salt water.
Get them X-ray goggles so you can see inside their lung cavities.
Seaweed.
That's now an unoccupied space you can see, and just filled it full of water elementals.
Yeah, that'll work, right? Actually,
yeah.
Hold on now. D&D 5e X-ray vision. Ring of X-ray vision. Okay. While wearing this ring, you can use an action to speak its command word. When you do so, you can see into and through solid matter for 1 minute. It's It says into and through. This vision has a radius of 30 feet to you. Solid objects within that radius appear transparent and don't prevent light from passing through them. You can penetrate up to a foot of stone, an inch of common metal, or up to 3 feet of wood or dirt. Okay. So we're halfway there. Let's see. Summon water elemental. Summon elemental. All right. Range 90 feet. You call forth an elemental spirit. It manifests in an unoccupied space that you can see within range. Yep. Don't see why this wouldn't work at all.
Um, it's not as any crazier as is like when it was like Superman versus Manchester Black, where Superman uses heat ray through the pupils with his X-ray vision and lobotomize Manchester Black. Like, it's not as crazy as that. Now that's into the published material of the world. So
Wow, Superman going fucking violent, starts lobotomizing people.
yeah. Have you seen Superman versus the Elite?
Is it one of the animated movies?
Yes, it's based off of the same. I think it's called "What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, and the American Way." It's that comic storyline.
If it's one of the animated ones, I've almost certainly seen it. I think I've seen every one of them. I just watched the one where Superman's son and Damian had to actually team up to fight Starro.
Yeah, that one was good. I remember that one.
Yeah, I just got done watching it a couple days ago.
Yeah, Superman versus the Elite's cool because he kind of goes crazy at the end, and spoilers, he kills everybody.
Yeah, there were a lot of those. There was a lot of the animated like Superman or just Justice League movies where shit went real bad. Like it's fucking dark, man.
Yeah, it's just Superman's too overpowered. Like I said, he used X-ray vision to see into the guy's brain, and then his heat eyes to go through the pupils, which somehow didn't burn the guy's pupils, or he didn't notice it at all, and then somehow got into the brain and took out just a part of his brain that took out his powers. So if Superman can do that, I can use my X-ray ring to summon water elementals in that guy's lungs.
I don't see why you couldn't do the summon elemental thing. Maybe because it says unoccupied space. That's probably the only reason it wouldn't work.
Yeah, but I'm summoning tiny ones, and that's a tiny space.
I don't know if you can summon tiny ones, but there's like summon animals. I think you
Oh,
could.
that's gonna be gerbils in a different place. That's gonna be really weird.
Yeah, so yeah. Conjure animal might work. You summon fey spirits that take the form of beasts and appear in an unoccupied space that you can see within range. But you can summon beasts of ratings like quarter or lower, up to 8 of them. I think gerbil actually fits in there, and gerbils would be considered tiny.
Real quick, how does a large spell work? Do you have to see the creature?
Almost most likely, yeah.
So, like, we could start a new trend in Waterdeep where we bring back swallowing goldfish. Like we did in the 20s here in America for some reason. So we get people to start swallowing goldfish whole, and then use the X-ray goggles to see inside the stomach to see the goldfish, and then we cast enlarge on the goldfish.
Yeah. You cause a creature or an object you can see within range to grow larger or smaller for the duration.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that'd work. So you have to open up a bar where it becomes trendy to
Yeah.
with your drink, with your booze, you have to have a goldfish inside there, and then you just run around with X-ray vision goggles, cast enlarge on said goldfish, which honestly, if it's in the stomach, I don't know if it honestly it'd probably just make them full because enlarge just it doubles the size. So I guess it'd have to be like a really big ass goldfish.
Well, it would make it tiny to small.
Oh, okay. Small would be halfling sized. I mean, if you had a halfling in your stomach, you're probably in real trouble.
Or a giant. Huh.
Oh man,
We went down some dark holes here.
we come up with some really stupid D&D ideas. I'm still about the summoning gerbils inside the lungs. It would work. There's nothing that says it wouldn't work.
At that point in time, just summon daggers in somebody's lungs.
That's more fun with gerbils.
They gotta claw it out.
They gotta find their way out of there. Let me wigs.
That's horrible.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. But anyway, so warlocks are dumb. I
They're
don't
not
know.
dumb. They're just really cool. I think the flavor, like you said, it's just hexblade was just so different, and
It really
it
should have
looks
just. It should have just been its own goddamn class.
kind of like if they could make a class that was, well, I don't know if it's own class, but like I've always liked playing the spell casting swordsman. So like the blade singer from the warlock, not sorry, blade singer from the wizard, hexblade from the warlock, even like a battle mage from the fighter. You know, I
Yep.
like that sword in one hand, fireball in the other hand. Kind of a glass cannon, depends on the build. Like that should be its own thing. It should be its own class.
Yeah.
And like I know D&D doesn't have, but like you should be able to start off as a wizard or warlock or fighter, and then like spec down into that and have a different tree available for you. And that's not how D&D is set up.
Not with
But
fifth. No. Third was pretty good about that. Because you would build. Yeah, like they had prestige classes, archetypes, whatever you want to call them. They were prestige back then, where you had to have certain ranks in certain skills to ever be able to take that class. Like
yeah,
the what's the archer, the elven archer that does magic and throws arrows. I don't remember what
ranger.
it. No, 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 no,
You mean a ranger in fifth ed?
no. The fuck, I don't remember what it's called. I don't know why I can't remember it. My cat's messing with me here. Uh, well, anyway, they can basically fire arrows and they can put enchantments on the arrows.
Yeah,
But it used to be a thing where you had to have like a +5 to hit, and you also had to be able to cast a third level spell just to become that prestige class. And then once you become the prestige class, then you start getting you get less spells, but you get more stuff that you can do to enchant your arrows, like the ability to cast fireball off of an arrow, shit like that.
yeah. I mean, I like that idea. I like the idea of something that's a martial class that can still chuck some spells, like the red mage that works too from like Final Fantasy's standpoint. And there's
Yeah,
it's cool. It can get very overpowered from a game design standpoint, like Templars and Shadowmoor.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So usually it ends up becoming the one man powerhouse class. Fourth edition had a Jedi version of it, where it was because they had psychic as a class, so they had the same, sword wielder that with psychic abilities, and you were just a Jedi. I mean, there's no better way of explaining it. You had a lightsaber sword. You could lift, pull, push, crush. All the cool Jedi stuff. And you were a tank essentially, so you use it for like defensive purposes more often than not. But you had a lot of like changing up the battlefield and causing difficult terrain and stuff like that. So it was fun to play. Just it was very broken because you had a lightsaber. You know.
I mean, lightsaber in D&D is going to be kind of broken. Let's be real. Yeah, I can't find the goddamn name of the class for some reason. I don't have my books here in front of me. But yeah, so the arcane archer, that's what it is. Um, yeah, at third level, you get a couple of different arcane shot options like banishing arrow, beguiling arrow, enfeebling arrow, things like that you can put on your arrows. So anyway,
Yeah, that sounds interesting. It's just a Dark Ranger kind of thing.
I mean, it's a fighter subclass. Like you are a fighter, straight and simple. It is definitely different than it was in third. In third, you were half wizard, half fighter.
Yeah. That's one thing 5e sucked at. It was multi-classing into cool, kind of unique variants of classes.
Yeah, I mean, nobody multi-classes in 5e except for 2 levels of fighter.
Or half paladin, half rogue.
Yeah, I
Half
guess
warlock, half paladin.
I've never seen anyone do it. I guess you could.
Well, it's all about that crit fishing, and then you crit, and then you sneak attack and
Yeah. Or
smite. And
I mean, yeah, I did the sorcerer for a lot of levels, and then just 2 levels of warlock. But
yeah,
yeah, because Eldritch Blast at that level's still good.
see, that's why it should have always just been like different for each thing.
Yeah, yeah, I wouldn't have hated it.
Oh, you're fathomless? Okay, you shoot water. 1d10 water damage.
Yeah, they would have had to make it ice. Water damage has never really been a type in D&D.
What are you, a waterbender? Ha 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 ha.
I do think that the Fathomless at like their 17th level ability, they should get Tsunami. So they can
All
drown
right, back to
entire
this conversation again.
yeah, so they can drown entire towns. I mean, when we have nothing to talk about, we just come back to Tsunami. That's the rule.
All right, back to tsunami. Let's drown everybody.
Yep. Yeah, time to drown the entire world with Tsunami.
I did have a question for you though. Um,
Okay.
when we finalized or when we did our final campaign for Fandelver, um, we basically had to shoot a dragon out of the air, and it was a space dragon. It was white. It was blue. When it comes to aerial combat, how meticulous are you with the angles?
I think we talked about this actually
Did we?
briefly. I think
Because
so.
because I saw a lot of complaints today on D&D Reddit about that same topic, and people were getting more into like fireballs exploding in the air and like cube spells being used in the air, and like how they make theirs drop to the ground first before the cube can go off. And like fireballs, they would basically say anything from the fireball level down to get the fire damage and stuff like that. Like, so even if we did talk about a little bit with like the making angles and stuff and joking about that, when it comes to spells
When it comes
in
to spells,
particular,
man, they're yeah, I don't worry too much about fucking angles.
yeah,
You have a range of 300 feet. Is it within 300 feet? All right, problem solved. There's no
yeah,
arc.
but
There's no arc to your fireball. It goes in a
no, no,
straight
no, no.
fucking line.
So when fireball explodes, it explodes in a 20-foot radius, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so so the thing is 40 feet in the sky. Do the things on the ground get hit with that fireball?
I that would wholly depend upon the positioning. So I do let my players position stuff.
Okay,
Yeah, like if my player wants to cast that fireball, you know, just off the ground, so it's like 10 feet above, so that more than 10 feet. Then when the whole thing goes off, if they want everybody on the ground to be out of it, that's easy enough to do it as long as it's not in an enclosed space.
okay,
Like it's very simple. I allow my players to tell me how they want to position stuff. Now, if I have a battle mat out, uh, if they're casting up into the sky, battle mat doesn't really help. Uh, but if they're casting ground wise, then yeah, I will make them position it out if I got shit laid out so
yeah,
that they don't
because
blow up their own guys.
if the target is 20 feet in the sky and you center the spell on them,
Yeah, if you
20
center it
feet
on
in the
them, then it's
sky.
going to hit 20 feet below and 20 feet above. But
Okay,
you have the
but
option of casting it 10 feet higher. So it's
well,
not
hold
centered
on.
on them.
So hold on. So if the target is 20 feet above, and you center it on their square, so it's centered on them. The range down would only cover on the ground the square that the monster was floating in the sky on the ground because it's a radius.
Yeah,
It only touches that.
I'm not getting that into detail on it.
See, I do.
Like I understand it's a ball, so it's gonna be circular. There's gonna be corners that are basically not
Yeah.
affected by. I don't worry about that shit. If it's 20 feet radius, everything I cube it out basically. It simplifies shit. I don't. I'm a DM. I'm trying to run a game and tell a story. I
So
don't have time to worry about all the little.
so when you cube it out, you add in an extra
I know you're adding in a lot of extra space. I don't care.
lot of extra area. So you're
Don't
making a
care.
column that's 20 foot by
Yeah, sure.
20 foot.
Yeah, I just don't care. It's never come up in my 30 plus years of D&D. Never once has it come up.
So I was reading this thread, and people were doing like they were suggesting what you do, and then people were complaining about that from the player perspective because like, oh, I want to like pinpoint precise hit the fireball and just the one person that are on the edge of it, and everything else is above. And some people were casting like the one person said that like you cast like fairy fire in the sky,
Yeah.
just like to get a dragon. He doesn't allow that. It has to basically start from the surface of the ground
Yeah, that's stupid.
and then form the cube. And like that's just like wholly wrong.
Yeah, that it doesn't say that anywhere in the fucking rules.
Well, he gave the same excuse you did about this 20-foot column of fireball that you now do, where it's just easier to math, and I can't visualize it otherwise.
I mean, it actually says it's a 20-foot cube in fairy fire.
Yeah.
Within range. Like, it doesn't say on the ground or any bullshit like that.
But the guy made it that it had to be on the ground because he couldn't visualize it otherwise. And
I mean, how the hell is he DM if he can't visualize that?
Well, the problem he's saying is that the players in this campaign were complaining because he would use flyers a lot because of their aerial superiority, not being able to get hit by AoE effects.
How are you not hit by AoE effects in the air?
Because he only visualized it on the ground. Fireballs, when they explode out, they'll do like the little cone radius, but they only go like 10 feet high. So like it does a circle on the ground, but it's only 10 feet high.
Like seriously, get you a new dungeon master. That's terrible DMing.
It was just page walls of just people like, no, that's just wrong.
It is wrong. I'm reading it right here. 60-foot range, each object in a 20-foot cube within range.
That's why I do like that one measurement tool that I saw on Amazon.
You know, if he wanted to say that the far end of the spell, like the top of the cube was 60 feet away, and that was the highest it could go, there's an argument for that rather than the center of it being at 60 feet. But not being able to cast it off the ground, there's literally no argument for that.
I know, it's just weird. One of my players, Dimitri, he got me a laser line sight that shoots a straight line out. So like you can use it to basically find line of sight of monsters and stuff.
Sure.
So I carry that with me. So when I'm playing on a battle mat at like Adventures League, I can draw it out. It's like, no, that corner does not hit that corner. You know, that's in the way. And that's been useful a few times. I'm definitely thinking of getting that one decal out because, like I said, it showed the fireballs size, and you could easily just put it on the ground or like hold it up and be able to quickly visualize what the area effect of a spell was. And it had cone attacks and stuff on it too.
Yep.
Really kind of neat. What was it called? I can't remember.
Yeah, I remember showing it. You showed it to me in Facebook or something or other. Yeah, it looked fine. I mean, they've had those things out for decades at this point. It's not something new. Like first edition even had templates, which is basically what it is. But
yeah, and I know they use them a lot, and there's a lot of crappy templates out there though too. And I know like Warhammer really needs them.
Yeah, you can't really play Warhammer without templates.
Yeah. Where was it? Oh, it is spell effect templates for D&D. Yeah. The lens of accuracy is what it's called.
Fair.
Yeah, but it's got the cube, it's got the circle, it's got.
You need to give it to that DM.
Yeah.
He needs it worse than anyone.
They have a one that goes up to 30-foot radius, or is this 20 foot or 30 foot? Yeah, they have one that goes up to 20-foot radius, which is also got the random directions on it too. So like you roll a D8, it has random directions, which is the way you go. And they have one that's even bigger than that. It goes up to D12.
Yeah, one of
directions.
Yeah, if you give me one of them with the 20-foot radius, then I'll use it for fireballs.
All right, bet. I'll send one to you.
Yeah, you know I'm never going to use it. I don't even hardly use miniatures.
Here's a frisbee. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of miniatures,
yeah,
I'm gonna buy a gargantuan Tiamat soon.
All right. Good luck. Hope the wife doesn't kill you.
She doesn't know.
Ah, she will now.
She doesn't listen to podcasts.
All right. Well,
here's a challenge to everybody that's out there. This is a shorter podcast this week because I'm tired, but have one friend you know listen to our podcast.
Less about you being tired and more about us having to stream here in 1 minute.
Yeah, that too. Watch our stream. Have you and your friend watch our stream this week.
Yeah. All right, we're out. Thanks for
Bye,
listening.
Craig.
Hope you enjoyed it.